Hi everybody! Today on this episode of Home Economics I want to do a little show and tell about the garden. And a lot of us who weren't raised with farms and got all of our food from the grocery store just don't know the full life cycle of a lot of plants. We only see them when they're at full harvest and in the grocery store packed on ice or wrapped up in plastic, and we don't even know what the whole plant looks like sometimes. So I want to talk specifically today about the the flowers on herbs. A lot of us only see our herbs dried in a jar in a mixed Italian blend, but today I wanted to show you what some of these look like in full bloom, because we have a beautiful blossoming herbs right now. And it is my greatest delight to go out from our outdoor kitchen to the garden just a few steps away and pick fresh flowers that are edible, not just flowers that are tasty like roses or nasturtiums or things like that people might be more familiar with, but herbal flowers, which are amazing. So right here we have some oregano. And when the oregano comes into blossom, it gives both these beautiful white flowers and these beautiful deep purple leaves and flowers. And they are so yummy. And if you look up close over here, we have a patch of chives. It kind of just looks like grass, but this is the normal grass. It's flat blades, but the tubes that you can tell, this is chives. And in amongst the chives, we have these beautiful purple flowers on top that are so delicious. They're quite yummy. They have a little bit of the hint of onion as well, so they're both savory and succulent. And next door we have borage. Borage, not many people in America are used to eating it. I hear in Europe they eat it as a steamed green, like we would eat spinach or kale, but not many of us incorporate that into our diet. But what I love is these beautiful purple flowers. Sometimes they come out more purpley pink, like fuchsia, but they are just so delicious. They have a light flavor, but I don't know if you can see this close enough, but they're beautiful little purple flowers. They're five-pointed, which always is symbolic of the powers of the five elements in magical fairy food. And you know what they say about fairy food? If you eat fairy food, it might just keep you trapped in fairyland forever. Scandal. Or if you make it back to the human realms, it makes it easier for you to go back and forth between the realms. I'm here in a nature spirit sanctuary that is often known as a fairy sanctuary, so it is kind of like fairyland. However, it's the human side of the veils of fairyland, so that means I won't be, Rip Van Winkle trapped in a time vortex on the other side, but it still counts as being able to help make it easy to go back and forth between the realms, so praise be for that. Borage isn't specifically a fairy food, but like I said, since I'm in a fairy retreat, it has extra powers, any of these flowers that are here. So we have the borage, we have oregano, we have chives, and over here in the garden, beyond this giant mullein, which is not really a culinary herb, but it's a medicinal herb. This is good for respiratory challenges, which I have a lot of, so this is one of my great allies. But that's a side note, just because it's so huge, it's worthy of mention. But over here on the other edge, we have a giant patch of thyme. And we have also beautiful purple flowers here too. And they're very yummy. And beyond that, over here, this tall spindly plant with light green fluffy leaves. This is fennel. Some of you might know fennel from cooking more Mediterranean style food, but this is what it looks like when it grows tall. This green leafy bit is normally the part people chop up and put into stews and stir fries and pastas, but this is what the flowers look like, and they're lovely and bright yellow. And this is when it's starting to go a little bit more closer to seed. Over here, flopped over, is parsley. This is what parsley looks like when it's not just a little sprig on your plate. Isn't it wondrous? It's so big and hardy. And when it gets into full bloom, it makes flowers. But we're just a little bit past the flowering stage. But it has these beautiful starburst, lace-like composite flowers. But as you can see, the flowers have now turned into seeds. And as the seeds continue to grow and develop, they turn into coriander. It wasn't for a long time till I learned that coriander is even the same plant as parsley. I had no idea. I thought it was, an ethnic spice that I see in Mexican food or Indian food, but I had no idea it was the same thing as parsley. It just gets a different name later in its life. So I wish I had the pictures available of what the flowers look like when it's still flowering, but this is what the flowers turning to seed looks like. Notice we have some tomatoes. They're coming on still strong. And over here in this wild patch of greens, we have zucchinis growing. I don't know if I pull this back, you can see the zucchinis on the vine. They grow like squashes or pumpkins. If you can see these beautiful orange flowers coming in. Isn't that lovely? A lot of us just think of vegetables as vegetables and flowers as flowers, but we forget that in the natural fertility cycle of plants, everything has to come into a flower first to be pollinated, so then it can bear fruit, or vegetables in this case. And I know that there's a lot of recipes in Southwest native cooking that call for, in Mexican cooking and that type of food cuisine, of squash blossoms and making squash blossom fritters. So if you're lucky enough to be growing food from scratch yourself or have access to a farmer's market or a friend who has a garden, look out for squash blossoms and you can make fritters out of them. Isn't that amazing? So that is a little bit of a tour. And over here in the back corner, these big purpley fuchsia magenta flowers on top of these tall green leaf plants, that's amaranth. Some of you might know amaranth as an alternative grain that gets made into a porridge like breakfast cereal. Well, this is what it looks like in real life when it's not just a little pebbly grain that you get at the bulk section, at the hippie aisle, at the store. There it is in real life. I had no idea. It was so beautiful. So when those flowers are done flowering, they turn into seed, and then the seed is what's sifted to turn into the grain that we then toast and boil and eat and turn into breakfast porridge. I didn't even know until I started hanging out here off grid and on the permaculture farm. And it's amazing. There's such rich, beautiful color. So I just want to take this time, as it's about harvest season, to show the contrast of what the summer blooms look like when they start turning into harvest, before they start turning into seed and fruiting veggies. And just wanted to show off the beauty of the garden here. And enjoy this food for thought. And just know that if you're lucky enough to have access to herbs that are fresh and their flowers, every time I eat them, I think, I'm so lucky that I get to have these flowers, because you can't even get them at a restaurant or a store, because they would wilt before they can even be delivered to be bought. So it's such a rare treat that you can't even buy it. What a delicacy. So that's why I take such great delight and pride in the availability to even have them in your diet. So if you know anyone with a garden, ask around and go, hey, can I come forage some of your herbal flowers? They're so tasty. So I hope that inspires you with your cuisine to expand your diet opportunities. And that's it for this time. For Nelicious here, with more cuisine tips to come. Keep posted for more videos on homey economics. Bye, guys.